Hello people, it's the Secret Anime Fan here, and today I'm going to do a character profile of Jeice, aka the Australian space pirate from none other than the almighty Ginyu Force. Now before I get started, I just want to quickly mention that I wrote a script for this. I'm going to semi-use it, kind of riff off it. Just thought I'd mention that. So if I sound a bit robotic, please forgive me, let me know in the comment section. So let's get started. So I suppose we'll start with Jeice's voice, as it's somewhat legendary in the Dragon Ball community. Hence the Team 4-star reference I mentioned before. Jeice is voiced by Chris Sabat, Scott McNeil and Jason Lebrecht, depending on which dub/version of Dragon Ball Z you watch. And I can only describe Chris Sabat's version of the accent they chose to use as a hilarious Australian accent. Of course, if you watch the Funimation dub, other dubs sound similar, sound different enough. Scott McNeil kind of sounds similar, Jason Lebrecht not as much. That's it for accent. I just had to mention the accent because it's such a legendary accent. So more on to info about Jeice and his actual character. So Jeice is second in command of the Ginyu Force. Ginyu Force being an elite force of mercenaries. For Frieza, the main protagonist of the Planet Namek arc. Jeice has the nickname Red Magma, most likely in reference to his questionable red skin. Looks more orange to me, but hey, let's move on. Jeice has a humanoid appearance and is of average to small height. If we were to use the Ginyu Force as an example to define Jeice's height, it should be on the screen now. You can see that he's a small to average height. He also has, other than his red skin, white hair extending down to his hips. He wears battle armor, often seen by members of the Frieza army, with a slight variation as seen by the Ginyu Force symbol on it. He basically has a white and black aesthetic with red skin, and again, hopefully it's displayed on the screen. Let's move on to Jeice's personality in a bit, showing a bit about what he's about. Some might say to be part of the Ginyu Force is one defining factor. You might think strength, and sure, that's one factor. The others to be overly eccentric, and Jeice is no different. He's eccentric, flamboyant, showy, and like all the Ginyu Force members, likes to bust out a good old pose. Often arrogant and snobby in the anime as one might be when under command of then, at the time, strongest in the universe Lord Frieza, that being that we knew of in that part of the story the strongest person in the universe. He initially comes across overconfident, a bit cocky, before getting put in his place where another personality trait comes out, and I'd probably say this was cowardice. He's shown to be cowardly at times when outmatched by Goku, for example. He runs away like a yellow-bellied coward, or perhaps it would be red. And he's not scared to use underhanded tactics of attacking from behind. Now, we don't quite know if this is due to being outclassed by someone for the first time in a long time, but it still shows it's in his nature, personality to do so, to be cowardly and underhanded. It's also shown he lacks a certain sense of combat knowledge, maybe experience, probably more combat knowledge, when being unable to understand how a person with a seemingly lower power level, aka Goku, was able to defeat him, a thing that Captain Ginyu grasps and informs Jeice that Goku controls power level. Showing that Jeice might have a bit of a big ego, because when he learns this, it kind of shocks him, it hurts his ego a bit. Big shocker, someone with a big ego and it gets hurt, they're in shock. He also comes across as having a narcissistic personality and being vain, for example, showing frustration when his hair's been dirtied. The fact he has a rivalry with movie character Salazar from the cooler movies over who is more attractive should give you an insight into his personality. Whilst being a member of an elite mercenary group, he still shows compassion at least for his fellow Ginyu Force members, showing to be affected by the defeat of his comrades, and he has high regard and respect for his captain, Captain Ginyu that is. So if there's anything, he's loyal to his captain. So let's move on to technique and combat prowess of Jeice. We know Jeice possesses relatively good combat skills, and possesses the technique to both fly and ki blast. He has a special technique called the Crusher Ball. He has a few other techniques, although not all canon. There's the Red Magma, described as the Rush technique, and has combo techniques with fellow Ginyu member Berta. These being the Crasher Cannon and Continuous Crasher Cannon, Purple Comet Hurricane, Purple Spiral Flash, and Purple Comet Attack. And if we were to name all of these attacks, including the Dragon Ball Z games, the list could go on. I just thought I'd quickly mention that Jeice and the Ginyu Force are pretty much chump change now. As the story progressed, they got less and less relevant. Of course, they still possess good combat skills and battle knowledge compared to the rest of the universe, but to the main cast, they're just chump change now. They could get defeated easily, most likely. Even Chelsea could probably defeat him. Probably, I don't know. But I just thought I'd mention that, but let's continue. So I want to go into a bit of knowledge about Jeice. Now for a bit of background info, and I must refer to all forms of the Dragon Ball source material for hopefully a better view of Jeice's background. Now I'm not quite sure where Jeice is from, but it has been stated he's from the same planetary system as Cell's home planet. We know so much that they are the same race as well, as one of the video games states. Now for some more interesting info of Jeice. Jeice was a pitcher in the hilariously named Galactic Little League, in which he developed the Crusher Ball technique, his special technique. And we know so much to know, as I said before, that Jeice and Cells had a rivalry of who's more attractive. They seem to have gone to different paths, and maybe they knew each other coming up the ranks. Jeice went under Lord Frieza, Cells under Cooler. Now let's go on to power levels. Now when it comes to power levels, it's a very contested territory and highly debated no matter what character you're talking about in Dragon Ball. But I'm going to try and give the general consensus of what Jeice's power level is, so take that as you will. And let's get started. Jeice's power level during his appearance at the Battle of Planet Namek arc of the anime must at least be more than 30,000. As Krillin states that Jeice's power level must be at the most similar to Raccoon. Raccoon is one of the fellow Ginyu Force members, and Raccoon was able to defeat Vegeta, whom at that time had a power level of around 30,000. Other sources state a level of 64,000, but I'd probably dismiss this as the source is from an early Dragon Ball Z game on the Game Boy Advance. So if I had to guess, I'd probably say Jeice's power level is anywhere between 40 to 45,000, 50,000 max, 35,000 minimum maybe. Now just for some extra info, his original name in the manga I believe was Jeice, or Jeice, like cheese. And that's a pun on cheese, so it's Jeice and cheese. But in the English dub, it was Jeice. It was changed to Jeice. Jeice's name is a pun on juice, of course. So that's just a bit of info there. Jeice is also revealed to be the youngest member of the Ginyu Force, and the last one to join as well. So that might show something about his character, how he's able to become second in command of the Ginyu Force despite being the youngest and joining last. Jeice basically shows up here and there, like very few times during the rest of the Dragon Ball series, in filler episodes mostly. I think in the Great Saiyaman arc, the Kid Buu arc, the movie Fusion Reborn, and in GT Super 17 Saga. And that's all the info on Jeice in his character. Hopefully you enjoyed all of this. It's my first video on this channel, my first video about anime. I usually do card openings of Pokemon pack openings and Dragon Ball Super pack openings, and that's you'll see that. I'll plug that in. I'll put it in the description to a link to that. So if you're into that, go watch that. Hopefully this wasn't too long of a video. Any feedback would be nice. It's my first video doing this, so yeah. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see ya.